Namaskar and welcome to this exciting episode of Sattology, debunking mythology. Today I've just come back from my tour in South America, and yesterday I came back, and today I'm just hosting this show on a very important topic, and our topics are mostly connected to history and debunking mythology. I had a hugely successful tour. You can see my skin is all tanned up, more tanned up. I'm already brown, but more tanned up because of the sun, exposure to sun. So before we start off, I want to thank you for all the support and all the love and appreciation you give for what I do and what our Sattology team does. I'm very grateful to all of you. And also, today's session is going to be, we are going to have a series of videos coming out on my South American tour on important places which are important for the world history and why India should claim them, why India should actively participate in claiming the World Heritage Sites. So, this topic I purposely chosen that how the West controls the world today. Before we go off on the topic, I would just like to very briefly remind you if you search Sattology on Amazon, you can get all my books. And you can very easily get my books on Barnes and Nobles. Also, you can get my books on kapot.in, and very easily to search kapot.in, and you can see my book there, Yudhishthir Pranadharma, and also the global footprint of Ramayana. And that's the book I followed when I traveled across the South America this time. And I've been traveling a lot in South America, but I purposely chose to make a video for the first time on the sites that I actually found to be interesting. So you'll see the whole series coming on YouTube very shortly. So before we get begin, I want to share with you, which is a worldview, today's worldview, how the world today looks like. And I will go back to my favorite software, which is Google Earth. It's very interesting. People can see that, and this is how the world is shown. Okay, this world is shown, which is the this is the Europe, and the Western Europe is there. If you can see my screen, and this is USA West. So what is the definition of the West? And we have to look from the top view, which is Earth's top view. Now, if you look at uh, the world today, which is we are talking about world from the north point of view, North Pole point of view. This is how the world looks like, and there are many important aspects here which we need to see. So, who is the West? And West term has become very popular during the last, you can say, 70, 80 years, not before that, 70, 80 years, after the World War II. Now, before the World War II, it was a colonial imperial powers from Europe starting in 1492. Now, 1492 is the year in which the actual westernization or civilization, which was proposed by Europe, Vatican, religious. It was a religious conquest. Colonial conquest was a religious conquest. You should know that. It's a classical Roman philosophy that control people by their faith. If you impose your faith and language on people, I'm speaking in English and I'll speak in Hindi as well. English I'm speaking so that even the Western audience can understand. If I just speak in Hindi, then only specific people can understand. There are a lot of Hindi is the world's third largest language, and they can understand English. Some of them can understand English also. Spanish is the world's number one largest language. Second is English. Third is Hindi. Hindi, in all its dialects form. The Western narrative divides Hindi into multiple aspects. Like they divide Hindi into uh, like Marwadi is separate language, Haryanvi is separate language. Like they separate the dialects also separately. Similarly, if I talk about Spanish, I can if I divide the Spanish dialects, then the Spanish in Spain is different than Spanish in Mexico or Spanish in even other parts of the Spanish, so-called Spanish language speaking people. So if I divide use the same methodology, then Spanish becomes a very small language. It becomes 10th or 15th on the world. Same is with English. If I divide the English into multiple dialects, see the same strategy which they use against Hindi, if I use against their own language, then it automatically divides the whole world into, like, English will become very small, what is being spoken in England, which is just 50 million people. So the same benchmarks, if I apply on their languages and their culture, then it becomes their population becomes smaller, very small. Like again, it's a problem is uh, मैं इसको हिंदी में वापस रिपीट करता हूँ. जैसे जो हम जो जो पाश्चात्य देश की जो जो एजेंसीज हैं, ये- हिंदी दुनिया की सबसे तीसरी बड़ी लैंग्वेज है अकॉर्डिंग टू वेस्टर्न बॉडीज. तीसरी सबसे बड़ी लैंग्वेज है. सबसे बड़ी है स्पेनिश, फिर उसके बाद इंग्लिश है, तीसरी हिंदी है. लेकिन जो षड्यंत्र करते हैं वो करते हैं कि हिंदी में हिंदी को अलग कर दिया, राजस्थानी को अलग कर दिया, मारवाड़ी को अलग कर दिया, सारी डायलेक्ट्स को अलग कर दिया. उसके बाद भी तीसरी सबसे बड़ी लैंग्वेज है. अगर मैं उन सबको ऐड कर दूं तो इन तो शायद हिंदी दूसरी सबसे बड़ी लैंग्वेज हो जाएगी, एक लैंग्वेज. और दूसरा होता है फेथ के ऊपर. तो फेथ में सनातन धर्म का तो बहुत बड़ा रीच है. सनातन धर्म में तो अगर आपको देखेंगे सारे जो नेटिव कल्चर्स हैं दुनिया के, दे आर ऑल पार्ट ऑफ सनातन धर्म. All native cultures of the world are part of Sanatan Dharma because they all worship the nature, they connect with the nature, and the concept of Atma with Paramatma is very strong. Relationship of Atma and Paramatma is very strong. And जैसे बात होती है यूनिवर्स, the universe is speaking, means the destiny is speaking, universe, वो परमात्मा का बात हो रही है क्योंकि परमात्मा means universe is speaking. तो जब तक हम इसको डिफाइन नहीं करेंगे कि वेस्ट किसको बोलते हैं, तो वेस्ट द कॉन्सेप्ट वेस्ट आया है दूसरे विश्व युद्ध के बाद. अगर विश्व युद्ध की बात करें तो विश्व युद्ध तो बोलना नहीं चाहिए, वो यूरोपियन युद्ध है. हम लोग वर्ल्ड वॉर बोल के पूरी दुनिया, यूरोपियन प्रॉब्लम शुड नॉट बी द वर्ल्ड प्रॉब्लम, ये यूरोपियन प्रॉब्लम है. तो अगर हम इसको बोलें यूरोपियन वॉर टू, यूरोपियन वॉर वन, यूरोपियन वर्ल्ड वॉर टू, यूरोपियन वर्ल्ड वॉर वन, यूरोपियन वर्ल्ड वॉर टू, दैट्स अ राइट वे टू से इट. Because other countries were forced to participate. India was forced to participate, was forced to give troops to the British soldier. Many other countries in Africa and other places were forced to give their soldiers to the European war. Ultimately, the war was to fight over the resources. Who controls the world? Who controls the world? दुनिया को कौन कंट्रोल करता है? That was the whole point of European World War One, European World War Two. Immediate political reasons may be different. Immediate political reasons, I call it expediency. मतलब वो जैसे बोलते हैं कभी कभी मजबूरी का नाम महात्मा गांधी, ऐसा लोग बोलते हैं मजाक में. बट इट वाज एक्सपीडियंसी. एक्सपीडियंसी मतलब हिंदी में क्या उसका शब्द होगा कि मतलब सिर्फ मतलब सरल रास्ता ढूंढने के लिए, सरल रास्ता ढूंढने के लिए वो लोग, उन्होंने ये टर्म्स कॉइन किए, डिफरेंट डिफरेंट टर्म्स कॉइन किए. तो उसके लिए सबसे बड़ी ज़रूरत है कि किस तरह दुनिया का जो नैरेटिव है उसको बदला जाए. तो जैसे मेरी पुस्तक है गोल्ड ग्लोरी एंड गॉड, इस वीडियो के लिंक में आप देख सकते हैं, और आपको यूट्यूब पे भी मिलेगी मेरी पुस्तक, विच इज़ अगर मैं स्क्रीन शेयर करूँ तो आपको दिखेगी यूट्यूब के ऊपर. तो उसमें अमेजोन पे दिखेगी वो पुस्तक, गोल्ड ग्लोरी एंड गॉड. आप सर्च कर सकते हैं, सतोलॉजी सर्च करेंगे तो आपको वहाँ पुस्तक मिलेगी. तो अगर मैं उस हिसाब से मैं देखूं दुनिया में, तो लेट अस गो टुवर्ड्स दी दिस पार्ट. अभी जैसे एक छोटा सा देश है ये इटली, यहाँ पे एक छोटा सा शहर है रोम. यहाँ पे एक रैंडम डिवीजन करके किया कि ये अटलांटिक ओशन है, यहाँ पे नॉर्थ अटलांटिक ओशन, साउथ अटलांटिक ओशन. तो अटलांटिक ओशन के जो ईस्ट के टेरिटरीज हैं वो जाएगी पोर्चुगीज को, और जो वेस्ट का जो टेरिटरीज है वो जाएगी स्पेन को। रैंडमली डिवाइड किया ताकि दोनों लड़े ना आपस में। और दोनों देश बहुत ही छोटे छोटे देश हैं। एक इटली है और इधर पोर्चुगल, ये पोर्चुगल है छोटा सा, और ये इटली, छोटे छोटे देश। और ये स्पेन है जो कि सबसे मेजर, जिसकी लैंग्वेज हर जगह बोली जाती है। और स्पेन का इन्फ्लुएंस आप सबको मालूम ही है। लेकिन किसी का भारत पे कब्जा नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि भारत में कब्जा में हमारे राजाओं ने बहुत युद्ध किया, तो इसलिए ये भारत पे कब्जा नहीं कर पाए। इसलिए आज तक हम लोग हिंदी बात करते हैं, अपनी लोकल लैंग्वेज। सिर्फ हिंदी नहीं, हमारी लैंग्वेज मराठी भी है, गुजराती भी है, तमिल भी है, तेलुगु भी है। दीज आर ऑल अवर लैंग्वेजेस। स्पेनियर्ड्स एंड डच कंट्रोल दिस पार्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड। आपको शायद मालूम ना हो कि जहांगीर, जो चौथा जहांगीर है, विच वॉज विच वॉज द फादर ऑफ शाहजहां, वो जो जहांगीर है, वो उसने इस जहां जहां पे उसका कंट्रोल था, कोलकाता का पोर्ट, वो सारा उसने डच ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी को दे दिया था भारत के लिए। दे गेव द एंटायर पोर्ट, ये ईस्ट इंडिया कंपनी, फॉर फ्यू थिंग्स। उसको वही जैसे होता है प्रतिष्ठा काम कामिना, स्त्री के लिए या फिर गोल्ड के लिए दे दिया उसने। लेकिन अगर हम पूरा इतिहास को वापस इसको देखें लैंग्वेजेस के हिसाब से, तो स्पेन का जो लैंग्वेज है वो यहाँ से, ये सब कॉलोनीज है स्पेन की। These are all the colonies of Spain. Actually, the whole western USA was a part of the colony. अगर हम मिसिसिपी के इस तरफ से देखें, तो the entire area till सास्केचुआन, ये पूरा मेक्सिको का एरिया माना जाता था till here. एंड वो सब स्पेनिश टेरिटरीज थी, ये फ्रेंच टेरिटरी थी। तो ये पार्ट यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स का स्पेनिश है, ये पार्ट फ्रेंच था, और ये पार्ट था इंग्लैंड का छोटा सा। ये ईस्ट नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न 13 स्टेट्स जो है इधर, दिस वाज पार्ट ऑफ इंग्लैंड। और इसीलिए न्यू इंग्लैंड नाम की भी जगह है इधर। ऑल दीज प्लेसेस आर देयर, एंड दिस पार्ट वाज फ्रेंच, दिस पार्ट वाज फ्रेंच। इसलिए आपको फ्रेंच इन्फ्लुएंस, फ्रेंच की बहुत सारी कॉलोनीज आज भी दिखाई देंगी पूरी दुनिया में। Now, what they did was, these European institutions, they made it mandatory for people in their colonies to learn the language of their masters from Europe. So that's why you'll see a big push in all these countries for learning Spanish. Like in fact, now things as what has happened is that these countries, they think of Spanish as their only language. If you speak in any other language, then they feel that you are not respecting. That is the kind of colonization is done. This part speaks Portuguese, Brazil, but rest everywhere else, the whole continent speaks Spanish mostly. And I was in this part of the country, I had gone here, and some parts here, like I was here, all this area I was traveling, and they have indigenous around 30 languages, out of which three are locally prominent, and rest of them uh, are not in prominence because people don't want to use them because there's no economic usage for it. So depending on their language which is being imposed, see what happens when you impose a language. जब हम अपनी भाषा, जैसे भारत में people do not know कि only 2 to 4% of Indian population speaks English. English is a minority language in India. It's a skill actually, which is skill के रूप में देखते हैं। इंग्लिश जो है, अंग्रेजी जो है, नाम भी अच्छा दिया है अंग्रेजी। अंग्रेजी जो है वो एक बहुत ही छोटे एक सेक्शन के लिए है, बहुत छोटे से भाग के लिए पॉपुलेशन का। और वो ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज इसलिए रखा है ताकि जो ब्रिटिश है समझ पाए कि हम लोग बात क्या कर रहे हैं, एक स्पाई करने की। क्योंकि अगर एक लैंग्वेज में बात होगी तो जिसकी लैंग्वेज है उसका कंट्रोल ज़्यादा हो, है ना। अगर पूरी दुनिया में हिंदी बात की जाए तो भारत का ऑटोमेटिकली कंट्रोल ज़्यादा होगा। अगर भारत पूरी दुनिया में बोले कि संस्कृत ही भाषा होनी चाहिए तो किसका कंट्रोल ज़्यादा होगा? भारत का होगा, क्योंकि भाषा पे पूरा डिपेंडेंट है। और भाषा को जितना प्रयोग हम करेंगे उतना ही ज़्यादा हमारा वर्चस्व बढ़ता है। मतलब लोग आपके हिसाब से सोचेंगे, क्योंकि लैंग्वेजेस मेक अप द थॉट प्रोसेस, है ना। सो लैंग्वेज विल डिफाइन हु यू आर। आप जिस तरह भाषा, जो आपकी भाषा है वही आपका सोचने का तरीका है। जैसे हमारे बहुत सारे गुजराती भाई बहन हैं, दे and friends in other communities, these are different languages. They think in that language, and their way of thinking, the way of logic, the way of reasoning is different. Or so the major thing was the West. सबसे पहले लैंग्वेज, चर्च, एंड उसके बाद सोना, गोल्ड, ग्लोरी एंड गॉड। पहला पर्पस, एक्चुअली पर्पस मेन सोना ही है, गोल्ड। उसके बाद भगवान, क्योंकि भगवान के नाम पे यू क्रिएट अ लॉयल्टी, फेथ। मतलब ये चैलेंज किया जाता है कि कोई और फेथ नहीं होना चाहिए, एक ही भगवान है, बाकी सब कोई भगवान नहीं है। मतलब जो हम लोग जो डिस्क्राइब करते हैं वही भगवान। वो सनातन धर्म के हिसाब से नहीं है। सनातन धर्म में आपकी श्रद्धा के अनुसार होता है कि व्हाट यू, जिसमें वेरेवर, जब जहां भी आपकी श्रद्धा हो, वेरेवर यू हैव फेथ, दैट्स वेयर यू टेक योर पाथ। Suppose somebody has faith in the cosmic energy or the Paramatma or Brahmand, like the whole Paramatma feature, then going towards that is Sanatan Dharma encourages that. Sanatan Dharma ye yam tarum tarum. Wherever you go, Krishna Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita, so whichever path you take, I make that faith steady. That's why you'll see all the Puran are in Satagun, Rajagun, Tamagun. Three categories they are divided into. And based on whichever you go path you go, that faith makes you steady. Bhagavan Krishna says it, I make the faith steady. So Sanatan Dharma has many paths, but all lead to one gradually. Gradually, it takes a long time, but it all leads to one. You do not ever confuse monotheism. These are all European concepts. Any monotheism, in even the word Hinduism, wherever the ism is used, is a European concept to show somebody down. So therefore, we use the term Islamism or Christianism because they are also isms, and they are also as temporary and as there is no proof to that. The maximum proof of any place in the world is Sanatan Dharma, and which I will show you in a lot of videos coming forward, which you'll be shocked to know also. And I will continue to travel a lot in those areas because that's how you start building a narrative. So हमारे साथ जुड़िए, हम लोगों को support करिए, because we need lot of, because we have to pay a lot of money to gain access many places. Not to bribe anybody, but just it requires, general expenses are very high. So I want to take all of you on tours with me. आप मेरे साथ घूमिए, जुड़िए मेरे साथ. Let's get on to the world through Sattology, and to become a part of this mission of intellectually, intelligently questioning what is going on. तो ये जो countries हैं, they first impose their faith, before faith language, and for that they use violence like you have never seen. I mean, whatever violence you see today and you can complain, that is nothing of what these countries have done, because their faith told them that wherever they are going, they're going to civilize them. They are not going to, they did not say we are attacking you. We are civilizing you because God has told us to do that. That's how they went. भगवान ने हमको बताया है कि आप ऐसा करें, इसलिए हम जा रहे हैं. That was the logic. Most of the people, they forget this story. उन लोगों को ये समझ में नहीं आता है, they don't understand that faith was a very important criteria of colonization, and even today faith is a major criteria of the domination of the West. Do not think of anything else. Baki, everything else is secondary. Everything else is done to hide this main thing. Because if you do not control the world, you will not control the money flow. एंड में जाके 16 चैप्टर में भगवत गीता में लिखा हुआ असुर अर्थ संचयन. अर्थ संचयन मीन्स टू कलेक्ट wealth so that we are the richest, we have no enemies, we have controlled everybody, everybody is like us. You feel it. But what happens is, when people, जब आप अपनी भाषा से, when people take you away from your own language, your native language, then you have no thought process, original thought process. Because if somebody has the original language, they're born in that culture, they will naturally have an upper hand over you. जब आप अपनी भाषा से आपको दूर कर दिया जाता है, तो आप स्वतः दूसरे के कंट्रोल में आ जाएंगे, बिकॉज आप उनके जैसा सोचेंगे फिर। और जबकि वो तो उसी कल्चर में बॉर्न हुए हैं, उनका स्ट्रेंथ है उधर। तो बाकी लोग जो इंग्लिश बोलने की कोशिश करते हैं, एंड माई क्वेश्चन टू द वेस्टर्न पीपल ऑल्सो इज, you should be very grateful that somebody is speaking your language. Very grateful. You should not be very humble. Somebody is speaking your language, even though you force upon him. But you should be very grateful because he is doing a favor on you by giving his power to you. So you should be grateful because he is speaking your language willingly and he's defending also. Like in many parts of Mexico, when I go and I speak in English, and they become very offended. And I'm just so surprised. That is not your language. That is your language of your invaders, occupiers. Those guys looted you, and you think that is your language. But you can't ask this question. They get very rattled. Mexico especially. Other countries are more friendlier, but the Mexico rattles completely. So the point is, the the impact of colonization is so huge that you start viewing your own people as your enemies. And this is how the West dominates the mind of most of the world. Same thing in India, same thing in, and I'm just taking examples of Americas, but you can apply the same logic to India. So the और जैसे अगर मैं मेरी भाषा मैं आपको दे रहा हूँ, मैं हिंदी बोलूँगा, अगर कोई मेरी भाषा बोल रहा है, तो मैं मेरे को तो बहुत ही कृतज्ञ होना चाहिए दूसरे के लिए ऊपर कि मेरी भाषा बोल रहा है, कैसे बोल दी है मेरी भाषा। तो कभी कभी मैं बाहर यूट्यूब चैनल से मैं देखता हूँ, कोई अगर फॉरेनर भारतीय हिंदी में बात करे या गुजराती में बात करे, तो कितना हम खुश होते हैं कि मैं हमारी भाषा को रिस्पेक्ट दे रहा है। तो ये तो यूरोपियन मैं देशों को बोलना चाहता हूँ कि आपको तो बड़ा ग्रेटफुल होना चाहिए कि कोई आपकी भाषा बोल रहा है और उसको डिफेंड भी कर रहा है। हमारे भारत में भी लोग डिफेंड करते हैं बहुत ज़्यादा इंग्लिश को, कि इंग्लिश तो वहीं से आई है, संस्कृत से आई नहीं। सोचने का तरीका अलग है। संस्कृत कैन क्रिएट मेनी लैंग्वेजेस बिकॉज संस्कृत इज द मदर ऑफ ऑल लैंग्वेजेस, बट some languages will have the full effect of Sanskrit, some will have half effect of Sanskrit. Like for example, Hindi is not very close to Sanskrit. In fact, Marathi, Telugu, Tamil, the other languages are more closer to Sanskrit. And you'll find 60% of words in Telugu and Marathi to be from Sanskrit. 60%. Hindi has more, you can call it Urdu and Farsi influence, more Farsi influence in Hindi, and Urdu is definitely more Farsi than anything else. So but these are all languages created new, mixture. You know, but the language creates an automatic slavery because you will be forced to think in the language of the person whosoever जो भी आपको सिखा रहा है, whosoever is teaching you the language, you will be more inclined towards that because you will think like that. Very clever strategy. This is a Roman strategy, it's not European strategy. The Romans were the first ones to create Christianity. Like they used Jew to create a religion so that the others can follow, and that became the New Testament. This is Roman strategy. Romans controlled all these parts of the land, and this all were belongs to the Romans, and their capital used to be on the east. Actually, the capital used to be here, but then gradually it moved here to the western side because of big fight over there. It's all in my book, the story Gold, Glory, and God. You can read that book in detail. Now, now from here came the authorization, and you will see the impact in this Americas now. So this country, which is now USA, since 1776, before 1776, in fact, this part of the USA was added after 1846. Not very old. 1846, the Western frontier wars were happening. Kentucky, Mississippi, Oklahoma frontier wars are happening. If you see the map, actually, then on the left side of this map is the 20% of North American population. Only 20%, like 80 million people live here. Remaining 250 million people live here because this is livable. and the maximum population is in this area of the North American continent. In South American continent, the most of the population is on the coastal areas. Because why coastal areas? Because this was easy for the Spaniards and Portuguese to conquer. In USA, because of frontier wars, all these populations have come in the middle, but mostly majority of the population is on the coastal areas. Most of the country, like this part, is practically unlivable. Therefore, the population is very less. Like this, California has 35 million, but generally, the rest of the population is very sparse with light areas of population. Similarly, in the Mexico also, mostly the coastal belts, which are the green, which are shown there, are heavily populated. Rest of them are not heavily populated. In the case of India, whole country is livable. This part is also gradually getting more livable day by day, the Rajasthan part. In the China, eastern part is entirely livable. Indonesia, eastern part is entirely livable. Like very rich, Malaya region from Mahabharata. These are all Malaya region. Heavily, I mean, it can be more populated, but uh, because of various factors, it is not that populated right now, but heavily populated. Like in case of Africa, this part is hugely green. It shows also green, but very green. This part is one of the most beautiful regions of Africa. Beautiful. I mean, you will never see the nature which is in abundance in Africa is beautiful. The world is made very beautiful. I mean, Brahmaji has designed it and it is beautiful, very beautiful. It's just that we need to have the vision of appreciating the creator, material creator, which is Brahma. You know, he uses the elements. Anyway, coming to how the West controls language, number one. पाश्चात्य देश भाषा से कंट्रोल करते हैं, नंबर वन, वो नंबर वन रीजन है. उसके बाद बाकी रीजंस आएंगे, ये लेकिन नंबर वन है. और सेकंड इज फेथ. और फेथ, मतलब फेथ भी दे हैव गिवन कि दिस इज हाउ यू, द फेथ इज गिवन, is imposed. You have no other choice. There's no other second option you have. You don't have a second option, second guess, second chance. Faith is faith. It's just given to you. Faith. And then the real reasons, which is hidden mostly, is gold, which is not told, generally not told. So what happens is, if I, जब मैं आपको बोलूँ कि this is the only faith you have to follow, rest everything is illegal. Suppose भारत में लॉ बना दे कि ये this is the only faith you follow, rest everything is illegal. Gradually people will convert to that faith. It will happen. Same thing happened in all these countries by force, by military conquest. Now, after the World War II, things changed drastically. World War II created the huge dividend for the victors. You know, who are the victors? One, that is, one is victor is here, USA, and the victor was mostly, if you look at England and Russia. These are the victors. And India was foolish enough to not, you all know the story that how India refused the UN Security Council, but anyway, that's a different matter altogether. These are the victors. Created all the financial institutions based on languages. So even today, like if you go to South America or Mexico or other places, they feel proud to go to Spain. And there is no visa between Spain and them. There is no visa. So you can go there and they have to take approval from the Spanish church masters because the faith is controlling them. It's not the government controlling, faith controlling them. Spanish church masters, they have to take approval on every single policy decision. And colonization is still going on because the faith will always work against the natives. So all the indigenous populations, like the shamans in Peru, are pushed in the mountains because the church, the general stories spread. Or somebody stole something, shaman stole something, someone shamans this. They'll create all kinds of fake news against them. That they are thieves, they are, exactly, this is the way of the faith works. Because these are all artificial faiths coming from, uh, they're not real. I mean, faith can be in anything. I mean, you can have faith in dog also. You can have faith in anything. You can have faith in a car. You can have faith. बोलते हैं ना कि I trust this car. We are putting faith in the car. I trust the river is not going to cross the banks. That is, आपने श्रद्धा डाल दिया उसके ऊपर. So it can be none anything. Faith is not important. Karma is important because karma is brings you the trust. But anyway, the faith is sold, faith is imposed. उसको आपके ऊपर फोर्स किया गया है कि आप ऐसे ही सोचेंगे. जैसे आजकल बन गया है भारत में. आप अंग्रेजी बात करते हैं तो बड़े, मैं तो बहुत हिंदी में तो बहुत ज़्यादा बात करता हूँ. लेकिन शो में I have to speak English because a lot of people have to understand also. So, but I'm mixing it up, and believe me, when I mix it up, there's some people they have a lot of complaints. They say they can't understand. There, we have a lot of viewers from other countries also. Other the majority is the Western countries. About 27% viewership is Western. So, we the on YouTube, I'm saying, and the majority in the South America and North America, they they bind by the local, the faith coming from the faith which is driven by their European masters. I mean, nobody talks about, there is no course studies on Native American religions. There is no case study on Native American religions, Native American tribes, their culture, their language, not is being spoken. It is automatically assumed that the English is the language of United States because it is spoken by the majority of people. But the native languages which are not promoted, because if we promote them, then they're not even promoted, native languages, not even being taught, not even being accepted. I don't see any Starbucks symbol in native language because most people won't understand. That's a practice, that's a financial, if majority of people were to understand, they'll understand. But there is no attempt by the Americans to learn the native languages. They're living in the land of the natives, but they don't appreciate that. Or maybe they appreciate, but they don't want to change because that's English is the language. So the point is different. The point I'm not making against the language, but point is saying that how the language imposes a certain behavior and also obedience, brings discipline. You have to think in one particular line. So this was the major. So now coming to post World War II world, where the World War II was victorious, victors were there, and they created institutions which control the world. The World Bank, the IMF, everything is American, fully controlled. Even the dollar is a US world currency, totally controlled. Even the bank deposits of countries like India and other places, they're all in dollars. They are all sitting in Bank of England or Bank of New York or foreign assets. They're not Indian wealth. It's not even stored in India. Now Indian government is working on buying gold and storing it in India because the world is again resetting itself. Itself. You and I don't have to do it. Prakrite kriyamanana. Prakrite heturuchite. So the world is changing because of Prakriti. The guna are changing. So Prakriti is forcing everyone to change. People don't want to change, but it will force them to change because that's how the Prakriti works. So 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 this change is being forced by Prakriti, the forces of nature, automatic reset. It is not, so nobody can stop it. Everybody has to follow it. Okay, nobody can stop it. Everyone has to follow it. So the institutions which were man-made, created after World War II, are now getting challenged by everyone, everybody, and language they control, the culture. Culture is propagated by the Hollywood and the Bollywood. Bollywood is as anti-Hindu as Hollywood is very Christian. Hollywood is Christian. Bollywood is anti-Hindu because Bollywood is colonial project which is just superimposes a European view on everything else. Because Europeans been have an advantage since World War II to give opinions on everything, whether right or wrong. They don't want to listen to anyone. They just want to say we are educated, we are civilized, we are telling you. Now you see that completely in South America, like complete obedience from Mexico down to Chile, complete obedience over there to the European masters. In fact, this territory is the British. territory. Can you imagine? This is British territory, Falkland Islands, right in the southern tip. Most of the colonies are not even vacated actually. And the more ashamed is like near India, the Diego Garcia, British Indian Ocean Territory is a British territory. And you'll be shocked to know that this territory, which is in the southern near Antarctica, is a French territory. And this is, we all know New Zealand is a British colony. This is British colony. Like everywhere, these languages are there, and local countries are completely. I mean, they have to just follow what they say. There's nothing else people can do. You know, they have to just follow. So the point which I'm trying to say is the the world is actually s- हम लोग we may like to change many things. We will we would like to change, but we are not the there are a lot of responsibility on different governments. You know, I'm very happy we have many African followers on our channel, and very happy that African Union is beginning to realize the curse of the European imposition of language and faith, and they're challenging it now gradually. It is a growing movement in Africa where they want to speak local languages, and they want to talk in local cultures and local dialects, which is a very welcome move, and I totally support it. In fact, South Africa must completely abandon English and just speak Swahili or whatever language they have. People, communication is never a problem between humans. Humans find ways. I'm not saying completely throughout English language where people speak, but reduce it. It's only for official purposes. If somebody has to communicate, then only they use the language. It should be just used for business communication, or replacing it with Sanskrit is even a better idea, because Devanagari script is the most complete script. Devanagari, if you write, everybody can speak the same word in the same way. You know, there is no pronunciation problems. Otherwise, you know, the cockneyed British, I don't know what you call it, very funny British accent is different than simple American accent, very different than the funny Australian accent of English. And Indian English is in the Hindi speed. You know, people speak English in Hindi in a Hindi way in India. But if you go back to Sanskrit roots, then Sanskrit words are far more. Devanagari is the ideal script for the world, and Sanskrit is the ideal language of communication. And anybody can read, because anybody can learn it. It's because Sanskrit is phonetic. So everything is Sanskrit, and everything can be in Sanskrit. And Devanagari is the most complete writing script. Nobody can come closer, and it's easy because most of the current letters in Roman letters are also written in the same way like Devanagari. Most of them derivatives. Very easy to relearn back. But coming to African Union, I am very happy that they are doing something which are preserving their language, their culture, because the culture comes from language, and they are gradually challenging everything. The next thing is the once you start challenging those language and faith, because why should just the Europe should give anybody faith? Africa has a lot of native cultures. Every country has a native culture in Africa. India is a land of native culture. Hindu is the culture of India. It is a native culture. The whole India is a Hindu culture, Sanatan Dharma. So that is the only native country left in the world. That's why all the Western European powers are attacking India. That is the main reason. Is faith, not anything else. No prosperity. Because if they control the faith, automatically the money flows to them. Don't be under any propaganda illusion that it is because India is so smart. No, this is the faith. Because when you control the faith, you control the economy. That's how it is. Sanatan Dharma makes you independent. Therefore, nobody likes Sanatan Dharma, because Sanatan Dharma makes you question everything. It's a logical side of the brain. So people don't like Sanatan Dharma, not because they don't understand, because they know Sanatan Dharma makes people independent. Yoga is the important arm of Sanatan Dharma. Yoga is the path of in Sanatan Dharma. So people don't like yoga because it makes people independent. It it makes people question everything. That's why people don't like Sanatan Dharma. So therefore they want to have their faith. So Once you start doing that, challenging the language, introducing your own languages, native languages, and only communicating in them. Number two, giving respect to your native faiths, your own faith. Why should you have follow a faith from Europe? Why anybody should follow faith from Europe? Africa has a lot of local temples. South America has local temples. North America has local temples. Native faiths are there. Respecting them, living according to them. That's how you start. You become American. When you start become following Native American, then you become American. Before that, you are only a European American or settler American or immigrant American. Immigrants have more faith than others. Most of the Indians who migrate, they open temples to USA. So respecting local faith. Third is once you do these two things, then the wars will gradually end, because there is one continent in the world which has created all the wars, is this small piece of land here. It has 400 500 million people, and they have created maximum wars. Everybody, they put regularly put the world in problem on regular intervals. Yeah. Other countries also create problems, like nowadays China is creating problems, but their impact is, China has everything imported, including the faith is from India. You know, so but this nation, group of nation, has created problems again and again and again, and they control everything. They control the dollars, their currency is theirs. They control the money flow. They have bases all over the world. Currently, U.S. Aircraft carrier is in this part, and it comes sometimes in this part. Because why? If they control these points, then they can force the world to follow their economic things. So people say, "Oh, there is no use of military." Therefore the China is the problem for most of these people, because China is wants to get militarily stronger. India is a problem, but India, nobody is scared of India because of political, can be easily influenced politically, and also the industrial base is very weak. They don't manufacture anything; they import. China doesn't buy their planes; they take technology or steal technology and build it. And nobody is scared of South American because they already considered a just a territory which is theirs. So nobody is scared of them. So they have, this group, a small piece of land, has their future secured in these two lands. And this is how the world is looking. And rest everybody is a place to exploit. And the wealth of the West comes from Asia. This economic region, it always has been economically the powerhouse of the world. Even today, 40% of the world trade comes from this region. Even today, you know. So controlling that is naturally the way to gold, glory, and God, language, faith, and then military power, control over the institutions. Very simple. I'll stop here. Do watch the series on that we are launching on South America. Do watch it completely, and let me know your feedback. And I will take some questions from some people. And if you have any questions, शुभ दीपावली to everybody. बहुत बहुत आप सबको बहुत दीपावली की शुभकामनाएं. और टॉक अबाउट रॉथस्चाइल्ड फैमिली, उसके बारे में इतना लोग बात कर चुके हैं. देयर आर सो मेनी वीडियोस ऑन रॉथस्चाइल्ड फैमिली. If I find something interesting, I'll definitely speak about it. Absolutely right, Palomi. Dutch East India Company was more worse, but the British East India Company, but British East India Company took over everything that Dutch East India Company did. They took over. Very important someone. Thank you, thank you. English language has many weaknesses observed in few years. For learning, and Indian is weak language. बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हैं रवि संघवी जी. बिल्कुल सही बोल रहे हैं, बिल्कुल सही है ये. एकदम सत्य है. English is a very weak language, लेकिन we use it for communication only. Absolutely right, Ravi Sanghvi ka second point, Proto-Indian. All these titles they have created, Proto-Indian, Indo-European language. No, this nothing. Only Sanskrit-based languages. These are all European titles. Okay. राशि भट्ट जी, नमस्कार राशि जी, थैंक यू. और रवि संघवी जी, तो आप बहुत अच्छे अच्छे पॉइंट्स बोल रहे हैं, तो आई कैन नॉट रिफ्यूज योर पॉइंट्स, गुड पॉइंट्स अगेन यू मेड. native language qualification is required to migrate to Canada and Australia. uh, they won't do that because English is the colonizer's language. They understand their language. See, just understand, they occupied a land, they imposed their language, and now you have to follow their rules. No, native has no rules, so there is no freedom to the natives. They are still colonies. Australia is a colony. Sir Hindi, Moreshwar Nita. Moreshwar, I have told you many times and many people, I stopped responding now. This show is watched by many people, Hindi speaking, English speaking. Okay? If I make in Hindi, there are a lot of people who won't be able to watch it. So I have to make it a mix. मुझे ये शो हिंदी के लोग भी देखते हैं, इंग्लिश के लोग भी देखते हैं, और हम लोग यूएसए बेस्ड हैं, तो हम लोग उसी लैंग्वेज में बोलेंगे जहाँ पे हम लोगों को मैक्सिमम हमारा मैसेज लोगों तक पहुँच सके। आप ट्रांसलेट कर सकते हैं, और आप कुछ शोज तो हमारे हिंदी में ही होते हैं, तो बहुत सारे शोज हमारे हिंदी में होते हैं। सो बट मोस्टली वी हैव टू रीच आउट टू मैक्सिमम पीपल हु कैन अंडरस्टैंड। IMD बोल रहे हैं जय श्री राम, रॉथशाइल्ड फैमिली। मक पीर बोल रहे हैं हैप्पी दिवाली, जय श्री राम, थैंक यू थैंक यू। एंड ओस्ट इंडिया कंपनी, ओके, वेरी गुड पॉइंट्स, यस यस, वेरी गुड पॉइंट्स। संडे शो पे आप जुड़ सकते हैं, बहुत सारे हमारे जो शोज होते हैं संडे को, लॉट ऑफ पीपल यू कैन आस्क क्वेश्चंस आल्सो, और हम लोग को सपोर्ट करते रहिए, जुड़ते रहिए। और हमारे जो नए नए जो हमारे जो टॉपिक्स आने वाले हैं डिफरेंट एरियाज पे, उस पर हम लोग जरूर डिस्कशन करेंगे। नमस्कार एंड थैंक यू। सब्सक्राइब करना मत भूलिएगा, शेयर करना मत भूलिएगा, और सपोर्ट करना मत भूलिएगा। पेट्रियन पे मेंबर बनिए, यूट्यूब के मेंबर बनिए, और हमारे 12x डिबंकिंग मिथोलॉजी कोर्स करिए, क्योंकि बहुत सारे कोर्सेज जो हैं उससे हम लोग पढ़ा सकते हैं। सो थैंक यू सो मच, नमस्कार।